I wouldn't call it a hated rivalry, just a rivalry that was great football, competitive, and I wanted it to be a talk of the town, really.
There were people at that game from everywhere.
Sims the throw, he throws, it is intercepted! Intercepted by Young! 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Flowery Branch!
I just remember literally my jaw dropping, being like, that just happened.
45 midfield, 45-40, 35-30, 25-20, touchdown, Lexus!
And it was one of those things, you know, you either man up or you're just going to fold like a chair, and I think we decided to man up coming out that second half.
High snap, Mundy got it down, it's blocked! It's blocked! It's in the end zone! It's a touchdown for Gainesville!
It felt like death from 1,000 bells.
We have seen a football game, my friend.
Games like that one has kept the rivalry around.
So first off, when I say Flowery Branch-Gainesville rivalry, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Heated, like tough, like it was a war, like it was a battle.
Competitive. Yeah, I mean, it was super competitive. There was bad blood too. I mean, there was bad blood on both sides. You know, play those guys for years and years growing up, so there was some bad blood.
Yeah, every Flowery Branch game since I was able to walk, I was there at. My brother played there. I love being on the fence, watching them play. It's just a very exciting game, and it's very important around here.
Well, really, it was still, to me, it was such a young rivalry still at that point. I mean, Flowery Branch had only been around 7 years by that point, and so it was budding, and it was budding because Flowery Branch had gotten so good so quick, and so when they took off, I think it became a great rivalry just because it was another sort of entity. It wasn't like Gainesville North Hall had a thing going for a while, but Flowery Branch was like its own unique, what's the word I'm looking for, community.
Whether it's home or away, that it was going to be a big game. I'd like to know how many years straight we played in games that really meant something, either a region title or where you lined up in the playoffs, just a number of things. You could always count on it being a good ball game, and especially when those Shaw boys were at quarterback. And it was just one of those things that you just count on it every time.
You know, I think it was a respected rivalry. It was a rivalry that I wanted to build into a point where we were competitive with Gainesville, and I think we got it to that point, but I wouldn't call it a hated rivalry, just a rivalry that was great football, competitive, and I wanted it to be a talk of the town, really.
Well, first thing comes to my mind is Lee Shaw.
I think the first time we beat them, you got to beat them to become a rivalry. And we got to that point, I think, maybe in 2007. I believe that was when J-Bo's senior year. We ended up beating them at Gainesville City Park, and so that kind of got it rolling after that.
Well, Coach Shaw came in, of course, he'd been successful. He was a very good football coach, very good football player back in his Rabun County days, played in college and was really good, knew how to run the option. And I saw that program just get, you're talking about escalating in its improvement. It became something that was really special.
Full disclosure, I am a 1996 Gainesville High graduate, so I remember when Gainesville football was pretty mediocre. And then when I left, they went from mediocre to downright bad. I knew Coach Miller from working at the Forsyth County News as well when he was at North Forsyth, so I knew, he was obviously a good coach. And when they hired him, he just took it to another level. They had a mixture of good athletes come in. They had a mixture of kids who were coming through the program, and then he just had this charisma that got everybody back interested in football.
But we had a good football team. I mean, it wasn't just one person. It was, our defense was stout. Coach Pavo and his crew had done a great job with the defense. We were good everywhere. We were good in the secondary. Offensively, we were good. We made things happen. We had a kid named Tyron Rucker who made things happen as a running back. We had Tyler Jones, who went to Notre Dame. I mean, the field was loaded with players for us and them.
I mean, you look at the offensive side of the ball, you had really talented guys and some tough linemen, and then on defense, you had a bunch of hard-nosed guys playing good, and I mean, really had some great talent on the team that got to go play at the next level.
Thomas Sprague, A.J. Johnson at linebacker. I mean, that linebacking crew that year got voted top linebacking crew in the state of Georgia. Alberto Santabria, and then Graham Simmons.
3rd down and 15. Sims back to pass, being chased on the run. 15, good move at the 20.
Blake was a football player who just, and he was perfect for what Gainesville was running at the time. He was a really good quarterback. You know, look what he did at Alabama. I think he set all the Alabama passing records. He was, and I'll never say he wasn't a really, really good quarterback, but man, athletically, he was tremendous. And he could throw, had a great arm, tremendous legs. Sometimes didn't see the field as well, but it didn't matter with him because he could run to daylight when daylight didn't exist.
I mean, having Connor at quarterback, everybody did, expect a lot because he was such a polished guy. I mean, he was future SEC quarterback.
Well, one thing about Connor is he was a big kid. He wasn't an overly large kid, but he was a big kid, and he could run the ball, and he had great control of the offense. And of course, he was a player in himself without all those players around him. And you knew he was so heady that if he saw something, he would take advantage of it.
That was a great season. We both were loaded up, I think, with some athletes and some really good ball players, and we made a great run, and I think that was really kind of set us up for a battle with Gainesville. I think both of our programs were kind of at its peak at the time.
Ironically enough, the Flowery Branch-Gainesville game that was played earlier, in which Gainesville won 49-17, was the final game of the regular season.
You played them at the end of the regular season, and
they dismantled us. Yeah, it was an embarrassing loss. We didn't play very well, but they had something to do with that.
Well, we played well. We played well that night, and we were undefeated at that point, and we were playing well. Blake had gotten a real good grasp of the offense by that time, and we did. We played well that night. We had to pull some tricks out of the bag that we couldn't show you later on.
It surprised me. It was a shocker. It really was. That the score just blew my mind as to how much Gainesville dominated that game.
You go into a region game, big game, a lot of people there, and really to dominate the game like we did. I thinking back, it was 35-0 at halftime or something like that. I mean, we really took it to them. Yeah.
Looking back on it, that they spanked our tail pretty bad the senior night, but I knew we were a different team going into that.
We actually made some changes after that game defensively, about 3 or 4 personnel changes for the playoff run, and ended up being successful in getting us to the semis.
Flowery Branch has stumbled a couple times, but as happened in 08, when they get into the playoffs, it was just something otherworldly happened with that team. It was like they circled the wagons better than any high school football team I'd ever seen.
Reminded you, hey, we could play Flowery Branch. This started from the second round. We could play Flowery Branch if they do this and we do that, and as a head coach, you don't want to hear it. Yeah, you say, I don't want to hear that. We're playing one game at a time.
Well, we figured if we beat Carver, Gainesville was up next, and my reaction was I was excited.
Yeah, once we won and we found that out, we were pretty excited because we wanted a chance to get a little revenge. We felt like we were playing at a high level and we were able to play with them. I think we were playing Cairo, and they announced that Flowery Branch had beat Carver Columbus, and I think we all kind of knew, hey, that ain't going to be the same Flowery Branch team. That's Coach Shaw and Connor, and they know how to win.
Two teams from Hall County will battle, not just on a regular Friday night, Gene Anderson, but on a night where one of these two teams are going to the Georgia Dome next weekend in the AAA State Championship game. Gainesville and Flowery Branch will do battle for the second time this year.
Having grown up around here, if you had ever told me that we'd have not just one, but 2 high school football teams playing in the state semifinals, I would have figured you were from some far-off planet and had gotten lost.
Going into the game, excitement just continued to build and build and build.
And being in the semifinals, being here, the hype was unlike anything I had ever witnessed for a high school sporting event.
You coached a lot of big games at City Park. I mean, talk about that crowd in comparison to anything else.
Oh, 10 miles apart schools. Most teams are through playing by that point. There were people at that game from everywhere. High school buddies, high school friends. I mean, I looked up and I think it was at least 6 to 7 deep around the fence. And the stands were full on both sides, and Flowery Branch's student bodies yelling at our student body, and we're yelling back at them.
Yeah, just people all over the place. It was really a neat feeling. It felt like a small college atmosphere, and it's funny as a coach, you remember some positives about games, but in the loss of a big game, I remember the crowd, the excitement.
To refresh my memory, the other day I was going back through some of the Access storylines. One of the first things I saw was a bit from the Gainesville Chief of Police saying, "Do not park illegally because we're going to tow you." And I don't know how in the world if they ever managed to tow anybody that night, because the amount of people that were there, even 2 hours before kickoff, was unreal. I don't know that I've ever seen a high school sporting event that intense as far as the crowd before kickoff. It wasn't like nasty, at no point did it get really ugly, but man, it was intense.
It was a lot of people. There was a lot of people. It was loud. I remember after the game, Flowery Branch does the no huddle, and it's, and I called all the plays. They signaling the plays to me, and we wouldn't huddle either. So I remember being hoarse after the game, yelling, to my guys, hey, whatever it is, whatever the call was, it was loud, and they couldn't hear me either. That was the thing, is they're like going, what?
Knowing that it possibly could be our last game, I usually ran out the banner last, or one of the last ones, but for that game, for some reason, I was like, I'm going out first. And then, so I was one of the first ones out the banner, and then you look out and see all the red and black, and then you kind of turn around and look at their stadium, and it's just their side, and it was kind of unreal. It was even, like, to me, it was a better atmosphere than the state championship game the year before.
Everybody was loving football. Everybody was hungry for football. You had a huge Flowery Branch crowd. You had a mammoth Gainesville crowd. And then you had everybody else. I mean, all the other folks showed up. So they're on the hills, they're in the stadium, and Coach Wayne Vickery tells me back when he first came here, I always said, we used to put a lot of crowds in here like that. I hadn't seen one like that, and I've been here for 29 years.
They want to make sure everybody's ready, and they are.
We beat Flowery Branch once in the regular season, and I think it's tough to beat a team twice in a season.
Well, first of all, Flowery Branch is coming in as a decided underdog, not based on the season, but based on one game, right? And one game has defined this as Gainesville will go, they will take care of business, they're at home, they've got everything going their way, and Gainesville will get it done. Now, I didn't expect that to happen. I expected it to be a tremendous football game.
So it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to go out there and thump them. I mean, we knew it was going to be a dogfight.
On first down, about 15, throwing to the right side, intended for Jones. Is it intercepted? Flowery Branch thinks they've intercepted. They have intercepted at the 20. Shaw will throw over the middle. He's got a man there. It is complete. Touchdown, Flowery Branch. Robbie Boudreau on a slant-in pattern, and Flowery Branch is up 6-0.
Great job again of blocking.
I think everybody was surprised at how well they kept Sims and TJ Jones bottled up. I picked off Sims, 3 times. I don't think anybody saw that kind of game coming. I think most of us were expecting some sort of 42-35 shootout or something like that. Even though both teams had very good defenses, just those guys on offense were so explosive on both teams.
And I think they kind of adapted the quicker, get the ball out quick, don't let us get pressure on Connor, get the ball out and get in more one-on-one situations. And I mean, we were still rallying and tackling, but it was, they had a totally different game plan.
Yeah, it's been so many years ago, as far as scheme-wise, game plan. I just remember our kids playing so hard, just bursting to the ball, swarming the ball, playing at a high level. Defensively, offensively, we were clicking. We were very efficient, and the biggest thing is our kids felt like they could win.
Do you remember Blake tearing his jersey in that game?
Yeah.
Second down, handoff will go again to Tyson Smith. Tyson Smith off guard on the right side to the 31-yard line. It'll bring up third down, about 3 yards to go. Corey Sanderson makes the stop.
And you're exactly right. I stand corrected. Harrison actually took that snap. He's a 5'7", 140-pound freshman, and this is a new look. And right now, you've got to be wondering what's going on with Blake Sims, and I'm looking for him on the sideline.
So am I.
We have an explanation.
Okay.
Sims is wearing number 3 right now.
Okay.
And he wore number 3 most of that night because his number 2 jersey, his normal jersey, was ripped. And I don't know if he ripped it. It got ripped off of him. But I do know for much of that ball game, he had somebody else's not only number on his back, he had somebody else's name on his back.
The first half couldn't have gone better, really.
We were trying to do some of the same things we had done, and they weren't working this time.
I thought the defensive secondary for Flowery Branch was really good. They had a good defensive secondary at that time. Some of those same guys who were receivers were defensive backs. They caused some problems for I think in just finding receivers open. There were some interceptions.
1.5, snap. Sims the throw. He throws, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Young. 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Flowery Branch. Penalty markers down all the way. They're going to get unsportsmanlike conduct on that.
I think he did some Dion before he got into the end zone. I think he kind of showboated a little bit, which kind of stoked everybody up. But that was a big momentum swing, really, on our favor going in at halftime. That was huge. It was a great pick. Our kids felt like at halftime we were in total control.
Second down, quarterback draw. Sims will run the ball up the middle, and that's the end of the first half of play. Halftime here at Bobby Groom Field at City Park. And Flowery Branch in command. Our Corner Drugs halftime show after this timeout on WDON News Talk 550 and TV 18, the government channel.
Well, certainly on the home side, it was pretty quiet for that many people. It was kind of a lot of murmurs and kind of hushed whispers and kind of like, really, is this what's happening? And then of course on Flowery Branch's side, it was complete thrill and excitement, and everybody kind of like we just need to hold on to this for one more half.
Flowery Branch was, I would say, they were feeling great. I mean, they were winning the ball game, and they shut out a tremendous offensive football team. I'm not so sure that those two teams didn't have the top 2 offenses in the state.
Coming out of at halftime, we felt really good. We felt like they didn't have an answer for us. We had a good game plan. Our kids were playing at a high level, and we felt like we were totally in control of the game, which we were.
It was kind of like a gut punch, and it was one of those things, you either man up or you're just going to fold like a chair, and I think we decided to man up coming out that second half.
And if you would ask me to give you 2 words to describe how Gainesville won that game, I would have used the 2 words: special teams.
And here's Monday as the officials are just about set to go.
Well, going into the 8th game of the season, I was not real satisfied with our return game. And I had decided to put Blake back there on kickoffs. And a lot of people said, well, why would you do that? He's your starting quarterback. I said, well, do you want to win?
Will Mundy looks on both sides. He is ready. And here's the kickoff.
Because you see him and he's electric, and we were told not to kick to him all week, and then we kicked to him. And
when he caught that kickoff return on about the 1-yard line, we thought it was going in, and he jumps up a little bit and catches it before it goes in the end zone. And when he broke loose and saw the seam, we were just like, uh-oh. Here it goes.
Second half kickoff brought to you as always by Allen Insurance. Picked up by Sims at the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 midfield, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, touchdown, Lexus! No flags, and immediately the game turns around.
It was just one of those pure moments that you get in sports, where like everybody kind of forgets everything but what is happening at that exact moment.
Well, I think they say like punt returns and kick returns. I mean, that's the biggest momentum shifts that you can have. So, come out and that happened immediately out the gate. Hey, we're still in it.
Even though the Flowery Branch fans may have been stunned, Coach Shaw, Connor, the offense, they were not stunned. I mean, they were like, okay, so what? We kind of expected that.
The ball just shy of the 49-yard line. Shaw will hand off to Cross. Cross on the backfield, breaks away, midfield, 45-40, 35-30, 25-20, Cross 15, 10, 5, and he's down to the 1-yard line for Flowery Branch. Run down by T.J. Jones that time, prevented the touchdown, and Flowery Branch knocking at the door again. What a run by Amani Cross.
For Flowery Branch to absorb that and turn around and respond almost immediately was telling as well, because we thought, okay, Gainesville's back in this now, they're going to turn it around, and then Flowery Branch immediately responds, and you're like,
first and goal. Here is Connor Shaw trying to go in from the left side. He's in there, touchdown. Flowery Branch in the end zone once again, now with a 20-7 lead.
Okay, now maybe Flowery Branch is going to win this thing.
At that point, I think it's hard to keep a tremendous offense like Gainesville has down for 4 quarters.
What sort of changed for the offense?
Well, I think one thing Blake has kind of started taking over and realizing that he could make some plays and do some things different. And our receivers started making plays in the game. We just started making plays down the stretch where we had not made them earlier in the game. And I think that just kind of showed us, hey, this is how we played all year. And we kind of got in the rhythm and things went our way.
Sims, the shotgun, play action fake. He's back to pass, being chased. He's going to run the ball. Sims 40, 45 midfield, 45-40. Sims 35-30. Sims still on his feet to the 20, 15. Sims goes all the way down to the 12-yard line. First down for Gainesville.
You could definitely feel the tension, and things got tight. And I think maybe the nervous energy may have hindered us some in the ability to move the ball. And like I said, I felt like maybe we got conservative, whether it was just making sure we caught it, not getting any yards, or making sure we're holding on to the ball and not forcing turnovers. And but it was tough. I mean, like I said, I can still remember this day, the whole energy of it.
Well, it's a couple things. It's momentum. You obviously you're driving the ball, you're maintaining possession, keeping the ball out of Connor's hands, and in turn giving us a little bit of a rest. I remember that first half. We were on the field a lot.
Again, Smith under center, and again he'll stick his head in, and Smith's got a touchdown for Gainesville.
And that really kind of sparked Gainesville's offense just enough. I mean, they still weren't driving down the field time after time, but they were able to get some traction and at least keep that defense off the field a little bit more in the second, in the fourth quarter. And then, I mean, what really turned it as well, I mean, just huge special teams play.
Well, let's talk about the block punt now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thomas Sprague's a player, and we didn't even have the punt block on. We told Thomas that if he could get through there to go block it, and he did.
Well, I remember on the play before, put a lot of pressure on him, drove him back a couple steps. I thought I was going to get to the, push him back into it, the punt before. And then, it's one of those things, I don't think, maybe me and Bruce had a conversation, I can't remember back then.
I didn't know what was going to happen next because there had been so many swings of emotion in that game. I had stopped expecting. I was just kind of, okay, so this craziness just happened. Now where are we going?
But I'm thinking how I remember it is we lined up, they snapped the ball, and I came hard like I did the punt before, and he turned his shoulder. And, I think, you almost instincts kick in, and I just was able to slip right by him.
High snap. Mundy got it down. It's blocked! It's blocked! It's in the end zone! It's a touchdown for Gainesville!
It went by fast. So, you think you hear the crowd and all that. I didn't hear anything from the snap of the ball until I was standing there and I was holding the ball for a touchdown. I mean, it just went boom like that. And then you realize what happened and what kind of impact that was. But when it happens, now you're just out there playing ball. You don't hear anything, don't think about anything. You just play with your instincts.
That was a game breaker right there. You talk about games, 1 or 2 plays can make a difference in a hard-fought game, especially on the road. That was the icebreaker right there. That one kind of broke her back.
What's going through your head on that go-ahead drive at the end of the game?
Just win, baby. Just win. Just get it in the end zone. I don't care if we win by 1 or I know you can't win by a half point, but just win.
21 in the fourth quarter. Quarterback draw. It's Sims at the 40. Sims fumbles the football. And Gainesville falls on it.
Yeah. And that's why I say they caught some breaks. When you fumble the ball twice on your winning drive and you get it both times, I think that's a break because a football bounces strangely.
It is complete to Jones. Fumbles the ball. Still on the ground. It is picked up by Flowery Branch. Or picked up, that is, by Gainesville. I'm sorry.
And give them credit. They had the wherewithal to to get rid of that play out of their minds and their psyche and continue to drive.
33-yard line. Snap to Sims. Sims with a low outlet pass to Rucker. Makes the catch at the 35-30, 25-20, 15, knocked out of bounds, down near the 11-yard line.
I can still remember this day, the whole energy of it, just kind of, it felt like death from 1,000 nails.
Play action fake. Going in the end zone. Touchdown, Gainesville!
I just remember literally my jaw dropping, being like, that just happened. You don't see, how many times do we have big games where you don't have big moments, where the games are, fall flat on their faces or just kind of, turgid and boring. And, this game still, it's got to be at any level, a top 5 game I've ever seen.
And just put it up in there, try to get something here with 8.9 seconds left.
One play at the most here.
If anybody, I think so. If anybody can do it, Connor Shaw could.
Shaw has got 4 men to the left and 1 man to the left, 4 men to the right. Snap. Plenty of time. He's throwing downfield. Heaving it downfield. It is a touchback. Intercepted by Gainesville. Touchback. Gainesville wins.
Well, it's always exciting to go to the Dome. It's exciting to know you're playing for the state championship. But as coaches, a lot of times we turn the page in a hurry. We're turning the page almost before when the game's over and you're doing all the post-game interviews and everything. You've already started turning the page, thinking who we're going to play. And we've ended up playing Peach County and lost in a heartbreaker. But that night, I just remember it being such a special night. I'm
thinking that was probably one of the best high school football game wins I ever was a part of. It was up there with some of the, I played in a lot of games in high school, and I think that rates number 1.
It was pandemonium. It was people were just, tickled to death that their team had won. Flowery Branch felt like they should have won and didn't get it done right at the end.
To go from that high to the game being over and having to try to track guys down and talk to them. No one was in their right mind at that point. The winners were, up in the heavens, like, kind of still riding adrenaline. Where the losers were, I mean, poor Flowery Branch was so gobsmacked at that point from having been, in charge for most of the game.
It took me a while to just debrief, I guess, to let it kind of roll off and realize that it was something special, and not everybody gets to do that. And honestly, it could have been when I started coaching. Just being able to see how special it truly is to make a run like that in the playoffs.
Yeah, it took a while, as it does for any big loss, when you felt like you had a chance to win it. But then, you get a little bit older and you look back at both sides, both teams battling. That's what high school football is so much, it's about. It's what makes it special.
It's just one of those things that people in this county remember, and a lot of people will come out to watch that one game.
Games like that one has kept the rivalry around. And that wasn't the only great game they had. I mean, that was just the highest level because they were playing to get to go to the state championship.
There have been a lot of big games in this series. It dates back to the region championship games and the semifinal games, and there's a lot of carryover from that.
I even knew playing junior Falcons that how big the rivalry game was for the high school and how fun it was for the high school players.
I think both coaching staffs at both schools appreciate good football and want good football. With it being non-region games, it's great that we're able to have good football and test each other before we get into region play, and I think both teams get better because of it.